The curse of the were-rabbit wasn't born from lightning. It was sculpted from clay. A midnight experiment fueled by tea, patience, and a very British kind of madness. But behind the politeness and the plasticine, it was obsession, molded one frame at a time. The vegetarian monster movie that fooled Hollywood, charming on the surface, quietly rebellious underneath. The 5-year clay odyssey that pushed every hand to its limit. And the fire that almost erased a lifetime of art. 30 years of dreams reduced to smoke. These are 20 weird facts about the curse of the were-rabbit. And hidden inside the teacups and the thumbprints, it was invention turned devotion. The cat that never was. And the dog who stole the world's heart. Number 1. It happened 4 days before release. The night sky over Bristol glowed orange as Aardman's storage facility went up in flames. A lifetime of clay dreams turned to smoke. 30 years of props, puppets, and miniature sets, gone in hours. The wrong trousers, a close shave, even the original Grommet, all melted into ash. Nick Park watched the news in disbelief. Decades of work, gone before his newest film even premiered. But in a twist worthy of his own storytelling, luck had been quietly working behind the scenes. The were-rabbit masters, the final reels, were stored miles away in another building, untouched. The loss was devastating, but the timing was eerie. The film about saving vegetables from destruction had just survived its own. Out of the ashes, Aardman didn't just release a movie, they released a resurrection. Number 2. Before it grew fangs, this film had roots, and they were deep in the garden. Nick Park's original title was The Great Vegetable Plot, a cozy pun only the British could love. When DreamWorks tested it in America, audiences stared blankly. No one understood that plot meant both story and garden bed. Executives begged for something scarier, so Park twisted the idea on its head, a monster movie with no meat. He called it the world's first vegetarian horror film, where the beast didn't devour people, it devoured produce. Gothic fog replaced gore, and carrots stood in for corpses. Every shot became a love letter to old-school horror. Moonlit transformations, dramatic shadows, and lightning flashing over cabbages. It was Frankenstein by way of Gardner's world. What Hollywood expected was parody. What they got was poetry. A monster movie that chose kindness over carnage, and proved that even horror can grow from hope. Number 3. Before the curse of the were-rabbit, Wallace and Gromit had already conquered the small screen. A grand day out took them to the moon. The wrong trousers gave them a penguin in disguise. A close shave introduced romance and cheap espionage. Each short raised the bar until the leap to a full feature felt inevitable and terrifying. Aardman poured everything into it. New lighting rigs, expanded sets, even a custom camera system to handle the longest stop-motion production they'd ever attempted. For the first time, Wallace and Gromit's world felt like it could stand beside Pixar. Still humble, still handmade, but suddenly epic. When it premiered, critics didn't see it as just another cartoon. They saw a national treasure stepping into cinema's big leagues. From a kitchen table in Bristol to the silver screen, these two clay heroes had gone from hobby to history. Number 4. Nick Park didn't set out to be a legend. He just wanted to make a funny film about cheese. But the Oscars had other plans. The Curse of the Were-Rabbit swept awards season, winning the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature alongside BAFTAS, Annie's, and Critics' Prizes worldwide. It wasn't Park's first win, or even his second. By then, he'd already taken home golden statues for Creature Comforts, The Wrong Trousers, and A Close Shave. At one ceremony, his own film even lost to another one of his films. Park's perfectionism turned plasticine into prestige, proving that you didn't need a supercomputer to make movie magic. Just heart, humor, and a bit of clay under your fingernails. When he stepped on stage with that 4th Oscar in hand, it wasn't just a victory for stop motion. It was a quiet revolution, molded one frame at a time. Number 5. Making The Curse of the Were-Rabbit wasn't animation, it was endurance. The leap from 30-minute shorts to a feature film stretched Aardman's crew to their limits. Nick Park and co-director Steve Box spent 5 years building a world one frame at a time, averaging barely 10 seconds of usable footage per day. Over 250 artists shaped every smile, blink, and hop by hand, moving puppets millimeters under hot lights. They burned through 2.8 tons of plasticine, molding and remolding faces until fingerprints became part of the texture. Even Wallace's cheese had multiple versions, soft for close-ups, firm for motion, crumbly for bites. When the final frame clicked into place, the crew didn't cheer. They sighed in disbelief. They hadn't just finished a film. They'd built a living, breathing world from patience, tea, and clay. Proof that slow work done with love can outlast any digital shortcut. Number 6. After Chicken Run became a global hit, DreamWorks wanted more British magic, but they wanted it their way. Executives pushed for faster pacing, bigger laughs, and fewer British quirks, hoping to make Were-Rabbit more American. Nick Park resisted. He fought to keep the dry humor, awkward pauses, and gentle eccentricity that defined his world. Behind the scenes, tension brewed like oversteeped tea. DreamWorks wanted control. Aardman owned the characters. Park quietly stood his ground, shaping each joke, joke, each line, each pause, until the film still felt handmade, even under studio pressure. When it finally premiered, critics called it the perfect balance of British heart and Hollywood polish. The clay never cracked. Wallace and Gromit stayed true to themselves and somehow charmed both sides of the Atlantic. Number 7. Aardman never wastes a frame. And The Curse of the Were-Rabbit hides an entire garden of secrets for eagle-eyed fans. The town's fruit and veg shop is named Harvey's, a sly nod to the 1950s classic film about an invisible rabbit. But the most mischievous Easter egg of all? A fertilizer poster reading "bag of shite." It flashes by too fast for kids to notice, but just long enough for adults to grin. That's Aardman's secret charm. Humor layered like clay, built for everyone from toddlers to film scholars. Every rewatch reveals something new, proving that even their jokes are handmade, one hidden smirk at a time. Number 8. The Were-Rabbit cast was pure British royalty, and oddly prophetic. Ralph Fiennes brought aristocratic menace to Lord Victor Quatermain, a pompous hunter who'd rather shoot rabbits than charm ladies. Opposite him was Helena Bonham Carter as the sweet, eccentric Lady Toddington. Their chemistry sparked like flint and fur. But here's the twist. Months later, both actors joined the Harry Potter universe. Fiennes as Voldemort, the darkest wizard alive. Bonham Carter as Bellatrix Lestrange, his unhinged disciple. In Were-Rabbit, they flirted over carrots. In Potter, they burned the world together. It's one of cinema's strangest coincidences. Two clay courtly rivals transforming into wizards of chaos. From stop motion to spellcraft, they proved that even in animation, dark magic begins with great casting. Number 9. In 1997, years before Were-Rabbit's release, Nick Park traded plasticine for palace walls. After being named a commander of the British Empire for his contributions to film, he received an invitation few animators ever dream of: lunch with Queen Elizabeth II. At the table, the Queen reportedly asked about Wallace's latest invention. Park, ever humble, replied, "Probably something that doesn't work." The Queen laughed, and so did Britain. For a man who spent his career animating tea breaks, he'd just shared one with the monarch herself. It was more than an honor. It was recognition that Wallace and Gromit had become part of British identity, not just clay on a screen, but culture molded by hand and crowned by history. Number 10. The Curse of the Were-Rabbit shouldn't have worked in America. It was drenched in Britishness, garden fetes, cheese jokes, and a hero who solves problems with tea and tinkering. DreamWorks worried US audiences wouldn't get it. But when the film opened, something surprising happened. They didn't just get it, they adored it. Wallace's optimism, Gromit's silent sarcasm, and the film's gentle pace felt like an antidote to the noise of early 2000s CGI blockbusters. American critics praised its old-fashioned warmth, while parents and kids laughed together for entirely different reasons. Slapstick for the children, sly wordplay for the adults. What Hollywood saw as too British became its greatest strength. Amid explosions and pop culture punchlines, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit won America over with patience, politeness, and plasticine, proof that heart, not hype, still travels best. Number 11. Behind every genius inventor is a quiet inspiration. For Wallace, that man was Nick Park's father, a kind, practical tinkerer. He could fix anything with string, tape, and a smile. Park grew up watching him repair toasters and radios in their Lancashire home, never complaining, always curious. That energy shaped everything. Early sketches of Wallace looked nothing like the bald, grinning inventor we know, until voice actor Peter Sallis first said the word cheese. Park redrew him instantly, giving him bigger cheeks, wider eyes, and that unmistakable warmth. Even his name changed, from Jerry to Wallace, borrowed from a friend's dog. Every gadget, every grin, every mild disaster carries a trace of Park's father's patience, proof that the greatest inventions start not in a lab, but in a living room filled with love, laughter, and broken appliances. Number 12. It's impossible to imagine The Curse of the Were-Rabbit without Gromit, that silent, long-suffering genius who holds Wallace's world together. But in the beginning, he wasn't even a dog. When Nick Park started A Grand Day Out, he pictured Wallace's companion as a cat, sleek, sly, and slightly superior. Then came the problem. Cats were nearly impossible to animate in clay. Their fur, their movements, their subtle faces, all too complex for stop motion. One day, while rummaging through his art kit, Park found a packet of tiny plastic dog noses. That small, random discovery changed animation forever. The name Grommet came from his brother, an electrician who used grommets to protect wiring, another tiny spark of inspiration. From that scrap of plastic and one offhand family joke came a clay legend. By the time The Curse of the Were-Rabbit hit theaters, Grommet wasn't just a sidekick. He was the soul of Aardman. The cat that never was gave us the dog that could do everything. Number 13. Hutch, the timid bunny who absorbs part of Wallace's mind, doesn't really speak. He echoes. Every sound that slips from his mouth was stitched together from Peter Sallis's past recordings, lifted from The Curse of the Were-Rabbit sessions and even earlier Wallace and Gromit shorts. Those mumbled "cheese, Gromit" and half-formed inventions inventions aren't new lines at all. They're recycled fragments of Wallace's own voice, remixed into something adorably uncanny. It's one of Aardman's cleverest inside jokes, a creature born from the very sound of his creator. In a story about inventions gone wrong, Hutch became the sweetest glitch of all, a rabbit haunted by the echo of a man who loved cheese too much.
Smashing Wensleydale. Geronimo! Charming. I'm Wallace. Lovely food. For rabbits, that is.
Number 14. Look closely. Grommet always writes, knits, and builds with his left paw. That wasn't a random quirk. Nick Park made him a lefty on purpose, a quiet tribute to the old belief that left-handed people are more creative, artistic, and independent thinkers. It fit perfectly. While Wallace dreams big and breaks things, Grommet calmly fixes the mess with silent brilliance. Every stroke of his paintbrush, every flick of a switch, every page of his diary is done with that thoughtful left paw, steady, deliberate, precise. In a world of wild inventions and runaway rabbits, Grommet is balance itself. Park once joked that Grommet was the part of me that actually works, and maybe that's true, because behind every wild idea, there's always one quiet hand keeping it all together. Number 15. When The Curse of the Were-Rabbit hit theaters, it didn't just fill seats, it filled shelves. Aardman struck gold with collectible figures, plush toys, and limited edition vinyls sculpted straight from the original puppets. Each model was scanned in 3D from the actual stop-motion figures used in filming, preserving every fingerprint and wrinkle in plasticine. Fans could suddenly hold their heroes. The same Wallace grin, the same Grommet side-eye, even the same tiny imperfections that made them feel handmade. The demand was so wild that factories struggled to keep up. It was proof that the magic of Aardman wasn't just on screen. It could fit in your hands. Warm, imperfect, and proudly human. Number 16. With a modest budget of about $30 million, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit went on to rake in nearly $193 million worldwide. A jaw-dropping feat for a film made inch by inch, frame by frame. At the time, it became the second highest grossing stop-motion feature in history, beaten only by Chicken Run. In an era ruled by CGI giants, Aardman's handmade world stood tall. Audiences didn't come for spectacle, they came for soul. Every clay wrinkle, every flickering shadow reminded viewers that real craftsmanship still mattered. For Nick Park and Steve Box, it was victory through patience, proof that even the smallest movements made with love could move the entire world. Number 17. Before The Curse of the Were-Rabbit brought Aardman to global fame, their legacy was built on a tiny miracle called the Wrong Trousers. It wasn't made by an army of artists, just 3 animators, including Nick Park himself, huddled around a table in a cramped Bristol studio. There were no shortcuts, no digital tricks, just tea, plasticine, and pure obsession. The iconic train chase, where Grommet frantically lays track as he rides, was animated frame by frame, sometimes less than a second of usable footage a day. Every rail, every bounce, every flick of Grommet's ear was sculpted by hand. When The Wrong Trousers won the Oscar, it did more than crown a short film. It laid the tracks for The Curse of the Were-Rabbit to exist. That stop-motion heist wasn't just cinematic genius. It was proof that 3 people, a camera, and a mountain of patience could outpace Hollywood, one frame at a time. Number 18. When Wallace and Gromit's sleepy village gathers inside the church to debate how to stop the mysterious Were-Rabbit, Aardman was secretly channeling another monster classic, Jaws. The scene mirrors Spielberg's iconic Amity Island town meeting almost shot for shot. The frantic crowd, the panicked close-ups, the rising sense of small-town hysteria as everyone argues over how to kill what they don't understand. Nick Park and co-director Steve Box treated it like a clay-crafted tribute, a gentle wink from one monster movie to another. Only this time, instead of a shark beneath the waves, the terror comes from under the turnips. The result is pure Aardman irony, a film about vegetables that still finds time to bite back at Jaws. Number 19. The Curse of the Were-Rabbit didn't just win the Oscar, it redefined what stop motion could be in the modern age. Its success proved that heart, humor, and fingerprints could still triumph over pixels and algorithms. The film's triumph lit a fire across the industry. Leica Studios, the team behind Coraline and Paranorman, has openly credited Aardman's work as their guiding star, proof that handcrafted storytelling could survive, even flourish, in the CGI era. Park's fingerprints became a creative signature passed to a new generation of animators who grew up watching his worlds move, wobble, and smile. Every frame of clay since carries a little of Aardman's soul, a reminder that perfection is overrated, imperfection is art, and the human touch will always outshine the machine. Number 20. After nearly 2 decades of silence, Wallace and Gromit finally returned in Vengeance Most Foul 2024, and they didn't come back alone. Rising from the shadows was Feathers McGraw, the cold-blooded penguin who once disguised himself as a chicken to rob a museum in The Wrong Trousers. This time, he waged a war of revenge, revenge through one of Wallace's own inventions, a smart gnome that turned terrifyingly self-aware. Nick Park directed the comeback himself, reuniting his classic team and keeping the animation proudly handmade. The result blended old-school charm with new-age chaos, a battle of invention, intelligence, and irony. When it premiered on Netflix and the BBC, fans called it a love letter to everything Aardman stands for. Feathers had finally returned to finish his heist, but instead, he reminded the world why these two clay heroes still matter. In a digital age, they're proof that stories built by hand never truly die. Bonus fact, even the anti-pesto van comes loaded with Aardman's signature mischief. Look closely at its license plate and you'll spot Hop 21T, a sly bit of visual wordplay that reads like hop to it. It's the perfect motto for Wallace and Gromit's pest control crew. Part rabbit joke, part British understatement, and pure Aardman genius. It's the kind of gag most viewers never notice, but that's the beauty of it. Every frame in The Curse of the Were-Rabbit hides a wink, a pun, or a chuckle waiting to be found. Even the license plates get in on the joke. Proof that in Aardman's world, comedy really does travel by van. When The Curse of the Were-Rabbit ends, the laughter may fade, but something softer stays behind. You can feel it in every frame. The fingerprints pressed into clay, the patience hidden between blinks, the love that moves one frame at a time. Because Wallace and Gromit didn't just build contraptions, they built hope. They proved that heart and humor can outlast any machine. In an age obsessed with pixels and perfection, they showed us what humanity still looks like. A little messy, a little wobbly, and completely alive. If this film ever made you laugh, or made you believe that craftsmanship could still conquer chaos, drop a comment. Tell us what world of wonder we should mold next, because this wasn't just stop motion, it was soul in motion, and sometimes the tiniest creations carry the biggest heart.